Welcome to the I Work For Me podcast. I'm Melina Lewis, an author, marketer, yoga teacher, and mom, and I'm passionate about people who have created their own business opportunities and who love the freedom of working for themselves. Good day, everybody. I'm Melina Lewis on the I Work For Me podcast, and I am super thrilled today to have a very interesting person that we are going to be chatting to, and that is Rudolph van Schoor, and he is a dynamic high-performance coach. Now, that's quite a mouthful, and I even managed to memorize it, so I'm quite proud of myself. But Rudolph is involved in coaching from many aspects of human performance with the leadership, with the team, etc. And he's going to tell us a lot about all the things that he does, because even though one could just bracket him within the realm of coaching, he's managed to take his business and unpack that into multiple smaller business, but all under the umbrella of coaching. So it's going to be very exciting to chat to him and unpack this, and then also to learn about how he brings out the best in people. So without further ado, hello, Rudolph. How are you?
I'm thanking you. Thank you for having me today.
Oh, such a pleasure. I'm super excited to have you on the show. Rudolph, before we kick off and get into the nitty-gritty of what it is you do now, can you tell us what it is you dreamed of being when you were a little boy?
Well, I think I'm going to reveal my age now, but we all fell prey, especially the guys my age, to the Indiana Jones movies.
Yes.
And Luke Skywalker and all those guys. So either it was a toss-up between being an adventurer, explorer, archaeologist that's finding new gold and stuff in Egypt, or something more sensible like a veterinary surgeon, or something like that, because I love nature as well. So, and at some point, I think I wanted to be a nature conservationist as well, just because I grew up in Palabora, so that's close to the Kruger National Park. Yeah.
Oh, cool. That is awesome. I'm going to totally go off track and say we've just come back from White River and Nelspruit and went up to the Kruger. Amazing, so beautiful. Yeah, if to all South Africans out there, it's one thing you need to save up and spoil yourself with is a Kruger National Park trip. Yeah, so okay, I've totally gone off track here, but
no, it doesn't matter, but it's really worth the trip. You have to go and do that.
Yeah, exactly. So Rudolph, how did your desire to be an adventure man, the camel man, turn out to be, in later life? How did you end up kind of going from that to where you are now in coaching?
I think the one thing that adventure and exploration represents in me is my thing that I want to do my own thing. I tried to be the university guy that gets a PhD in engineering or in law or in medicine, the road that all of us needs to take, that's prescribed to you in grade 1. And I just realized later in life, that's not really me. I want to do my own thing. I don't want to work for organization or for a company. So I think that's where the adventure streak in me came out. Right. And what I also realized is I love people. So I think instead of working with dead people and digging them out of the ground, I prefer more interesting conversations with live ones. So yeah.
That's fantastic. And I mean, did you go straight from varsity into coaching, or kind of was it you were maybe in a career and then you kind of moved on to something? How did it translate for you into becoming a coach?
Well, to be honest, I studied psychology for 2 years at the University of Pretoria. And I had, or psychology, and I had this romantic idea of what psychology is going to be. And after 2 years, it was like, I'm not quite sure. And I think also at that stage, you're very young, you don't really know what to do with your life. Mm-hmm. So from then I moved into working for the university church, Universiteitswoord, Dutch Reformed Church, where we organized all the student first year camps for the university. Mm-hmm. So I did that for 2 years, and in between I had my own martial arts studio for a couple of years.
Wow.
where I had students, and a lot of my students got first place in our styles international national championships.
Wow.
And then slowly but surely, I think my coaching, the interest in it really started by coaching martial arts students
Yes.
and working with them and developing them and growing them. And then slowly but surely, I got involved at the Steve Biko Academic Hospital with an external service provider.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, my career in working with people in a formalized setting, in an office space, that kind of thing took hold and developed. And then I would say I did that for 6 years.
Mm.
And then after 6 years, it was like, okay, now it's time to start doing my own thing.
Right.
And in between working at the hospital, you did a lot of courses, training, also did courses at the International Institute overseas. So yeah, that's basically my journey in a nutshell.
Wow. Okay, cool. And so, and then you've moved down to Cape Town since then?
Yeah, I moved to Cape Town in 2012.
Okay.
I remember the day clearly. I got in the car the 5th of October and I said, okay, I'm done with Pretoria. I'm done with hospitals and casualties and people dying and weird and interesting stuff happening. And it's time for a lifestyle change. I think I was actually, in retrospect, very close to burnout. So that's when I decided, Cape Town, here we come.
Mm.
And I started my private practice in February 2013.
Okay, wow. So that's so funny because we came down to Cape Town also. I came down in November 2012. And yeah, so we started our year in Cape Town also in 2013. So yeah, it must have been something in the water in the in Gauteng because I was from Joburg. So there must have been
Listen, the
something.
mountain, wine, sea, beaches, come on, really.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, come, really. Oh, classic. Okay, so Rudolph, you've started your practice. Now, tell us about you now, all the different, I know there's about like 4 different kind of streams of income that you currently running. Can you tell us about all of those and what they all do and how you work with people?
I think maybe I'm going to tell you more about the kind of client that I'm seeing,
Okay,
and that will explain a little bit more about, the different income streams.
right.
So the main kind of client that I'm seeing is men and women that either have their own businesses
Okay.
or they are in top management in the company, and usually they are between their 30s and 40s, round about there.
Okay.
So they are well established. They have 1.5 to 2 kids, a goldfish and a Jack Russell, usually, or a Labrador. Uh, Inevitably, when clients come in, they show me the photos of the kids and the Labradors and the Jack Russells and the goldfish.
Oh my God.
And some of them moan about the koi fish that also dies. So yeah, that's expensive exercise for most of the husbands, because they need to keep their ladies happy and go to Stodels and all those places. So that's usually the kind of profile that I work. So it's highly driven people, but they are very family orientated as well.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And what I found was I've created my coaching around that demographic's needs. And
Okay.
usually it is either business coaching or executive coaching, but the leadership stream, or things that they face in their life on a personal level that has a lot to do with transitions.
Right.
That's where the life coaching comes in.
Ah. Okay.
So I work with the entrepreneur as a person, but I also work with his business. And when I say high performance coaching, why I pitch it that way is the moment if you say go to a coach, people still sometimes connect it with going to a clinical psychologist. So there's something wrong with me. I need to be fixed. And that's not what coaching is about. Coaching is a totally different discipline than
Yeah.
clinical psychology. It's a different tool.
Yeah.
So everybody wants to perform better, especially now.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to get that edge. Everybody wants to push themselves.
Mm.
Whether they want to or not, we are all in that position.
Mm.
So the kind of coaching that I'm doing for this specific clientele is, how do you perform better in yourself and your business? So looking at the business model, strategies, all those things. If you are a leader in the company, how do you perform better? And then make your team perform better.
Right.
And then on a personal level, and sometimes with families as well, how do you as a person and the wider family system grow, develop, and engage the strengths that is within the family to put yourself in a different position, especially during the COVID time where a lot of families are experiencing stress and divorce is suddenly going through the roof. So a lot of clients that I'm currently seeing that struggling with divorce or trying to turn their marriages away from the ledge. So yeah.
Wow, that is so sad. That's so sad. I feel like that's a whole other discussion, that being forced to live together and spend more time together has resulted in divorce. That's terribly sad. But okay, so that gives us good insight into who you're dealing with. So you wouldn't deal with the person who is I'm trying to think. So someone who, say, doesn't have a family, so you know, on their own, running their own business, or on their own and kind of leading a big team in a corporate, you wouldn't deal with that kind of person. Do you specifically look for that family element?
I'm specifically looking for that family element, but a percentage of my clientele are individuals that's on their own, that's doing their own thing in terms of their personal life. So I'm not excluding them, but the people that comes to me the most are that kind of setup.
Okay, cool. And so what kind of was the inspiration for this business? I mean, you came down to kind of Cape Town to start a new business, a new practice. And was it that, you know, the first person that walked through your door was this profile of client, or you had a specific goal in mind about the kind of client that you wanted? How did it kind of form?
I think the real honest answer is, when I came to Cape Town, I had a sort of plan. I had sort of an idea of what I wanted to do, but I'm not going to lie to you and tell you, listen, I had this grand strategy. I knew exactly what I was doing, and I kicked ass right from the beginning. It's totally the opposite.
I'm so glad. Yay, it always makes me feel better. Yeah.
I think that's why I sometimes in the beginning found business coaches or successful entrepreneurs so intimidating. Was like, they seemed like, if you listen to their personal stories, they sounded like they knew exactly what they wanted to do from the beginning, from the get-go. And here comes Rudolph, you know, coming out of a hospital, starting his own thing. Heck, what does he know? Yeah. So my honest answer is, it was really a journey where I had to figure out, who am I, what's my values, and also what's my beliefs and how I think about people. And I also really had to sit down and say, what I do, who will it serve the best?
Okay.
And the kind of work that I do, if I want to serve something that is bigger and outside of myself, if I want to benefit something or someone that's bigger and outside of myself, where can I create the most impact?
Okay.
And I've realized, as I went along here halfway in 2013, I've realized, just purely where I'm located here in Stellenberg, the kind of client profile that needed the most work or most enablement in their lives with this specific, I'm a dad, I'm a mom, I have my own business, my kid goes to Stellenberg High School, the other one goes to Eversdal Primary School, it's going crazy, and I have these different needs. And it's great as a coach, you can niche yourself and you say, I'm a Facebook master, or I'm a LinkedIn master, or I am a systems optimization master. It's brilliant. But what I found was that the needs of the client clientele that I'm working with were so vast,
Right.
but it was also so pulled together into this one thing of, listen, my family is important to me and I need to make sure that they're okay. But that means I need to grow. I need to develop. I need to tackle these challenges in either my business or in my career. So that's basically how I've learned through trial and error where I should position myself. And in retrospect, I'm not going to say it's the perfect positioning. I'm not going to say I still have the silver bullet yet. It's working for me at the moment, but I will always rethink after every year or so, rethink, reposition. So we need getting closer to the end of the year. So I'm getting back into that rethinking, repositioning yourself mode. So yeah.
Okay. So then, I mean, in terms of, running your own business, so it's great and wonderful that you are working with kind of this specific target market on helping them develop themselves and their businesses, and their families. So, but you also are doing the same thing yourself, running a business,
Mm-hmm.
and you're also developing yourself and looking after your family. So, how do you do that? Are you kind of a goal setter? I don't know. I think we might have covered that. I don't know if we are. Or are you, so kind of end of year, I also get that kind of like itchy feeling where I feel like I need big pieces of paper and I want to kind of start thinking in kind of big colors and ideas about what I want to do in the next year and what I would like to achieve, or are you kind of, just, yeah, or do you just kind of dream big and go, yay, I hope I make it? Or, what do you do for yourself to kind of, help yourself and your own business?
I think one of my greatest strengths, but also one of my greatest weaknesses, is that I like to plan, and I like to plan everything. So, yeah, immediately I'm telling you, I like to set goals and goal setting methodology, and you need to be structured and all those things. But where I definitely start off with as the main departure point is I've made sure that I've surrounded myself with other coaches
Okay,
I receive coaching from.
brilliant.
So when I go into that zone of, okay, so it's time to rethink 2021, it's time to plan for it. I do take a week or I take 2 or 3 days, and I really go and sit and think about what I want, what I need, where I am. There's a lot of reflection. But then, after I've made that rough outline, I go to my coaches and I say, guys, because they are coaches from different angles. One
Okay,
is a business coach, one is a sales coach, the other one do the personal development. And then I say, guys, so this is the plan. Let's pull this thing apart. Let's
right.
totally tear it apart. Look for all the holes, for all the crap. And also, I can only think this big as an individual. Doesn't matter how genius you are. You can only think this big. Having a team of people outside of you from different angles forces your brain to go like this big.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's where my process starts, is with that. And out of that goes, okay, so here's the plan. Here's the destination that I want to be. Here's the goals that the destination populates.
Right.
And then from there, what's the strategies and the timelines, and how is it broken up into 90, 60, 30-day plans?
Okay. Wow. So super, super specific. I mean, you are down to like 30-day plans. That's amazing. I try and write a list every day, and yeah, that's already quite exhausting. So yeah, that's fantastic. And I love that you include other people in your process. I mean, if you were to advise a business owner, what would you advise them? Like, what kind of person should they bring into their kind of circle of trust in terms of, because it is the thing, you want to be able to trust that person's opinion completely. And I mean, should you rather just pay for a coach and then you'll get solid advice? Or are there other people, maybe you can't afford at this point? Who else could you bring in to help you kind of expand your brain?
I think before you say or make a decision on who do you bring into your circle of trust, if you want to put it that way, you first need to make the decision inside of yourself that even if you think you are very smart, there are other people that are much more smarter than you.
Absolutely.
And if you think there are people that are dumber than you, they are much more smarter than you think they are. Now, the reason why I start off with that line of argument is I think the mistake that a lot of us as entrepreneurs make is that we are so creative and we are so experts at what we do, we easily step into that lone wolf syndrome. And we are actually open to learning. I mean, if you look at the amount of money that people spend on programs and marketing programs and the online video series and Audible and all those things, people are willing to spend that money to go and learn stuff. So we learn what to do. But when it comes to how to do it,
right,
then it means you need to get into a space with someone that is sitting right in front of you, that's not at the arm's length distance, and that's going to challenge you. They are invading your thinking, they are invading your space, they're invading your ideas. That's very different and a different ball game than buying stuff online. So that's why I say if the first place that you actually need to start is making the decision, I'm going to allow somebody into that personal space.
Right.
And you need to be sure that you're going to be open to what it's going to do. It's going to challenge you. You will have to take criticism. Right. Your ego will be taken down a notch or two. And that includes me. I'm very confident at what I do, and I sometimes do need an attitude adjustment clap from my coaches to take my ego down a couple of notches. So before you make decisions, who do you allow in, you need to make sure you are willing to reap the fruits that comes from a process like that.
Right.
But it's painful.
Isn't all kind of change painful? Hey,
exactly.
To go down to come up kind of thing. That's interesting. That's so interesting, because I was having a conversation with someone and I said, oh yeah, I'm feeling frazzled. I feel like I work all the time and I can't see the wood from the trees. And I feel like I just need someone else's eyes just to kind of help me say what to do, where to go. I mean, I'm making it sound very simplistic, but I just need another set of eyes on me and my business and what I'm trying to do. And because I'm not, this is not how I want to do things. I know that I need to shift things, but I actually don't know how. And they were like, oh, well, just stop doing half the stuff you're doing. Like, you just do too much. And I was just like, no, I think that I'm going to do this because I think there could be a business hack that I'm not seeing, And they were like, okay, whatever. And I was like, I mean, could it be as simple as me stopping doing half of what I do? And then I was like, no, but I like everything that I do. I just need to do it better and, or smarter or something. Something needs to just be tweaked. But it was just interesting. The attitude was that we'll just do less, Yeah, so there definitely is, I suppose the anecdote is what I'm trying to say is that, sometimes we maybe don't want to hear the answer because maybe that is going to be the answer from a coach, but but if you aren't open to the idea of actually seeking a shift or a change, it's not going to happen. Kind of standing there and whining that you're so busy is not going to change anything, right? So yeah, very often it's being open to that and that uncomfortable shift. So for people out there, what would you advise them to do before they seek out a coach? Should they do that work?
So to add on to my answer with the previous question and then answering this question as well. If you've made that decision, then there's two ways that you can actually go about it. You can either decide, okay, I do have the financial means, I want to engage a coach.
Right.
So when you are engaging a coach, you first need to be very clear on what your needs are. Is it personal? Is it business? What about your business?
Right.
I've found that it's much better to get someone that specializes in that specific need.
Right.
And trying to find someone that's a generalist.
Okay.
So if marketing is what you realize is not working well at the moment, then get a sales coach or get a marketing coach.
Right.
If you realize, I'm not quite sure what's really happening in my business, but something is wrong, then get a good business coach.
Okay.
Or a high performance coach. So you first need to be sure with yourself what is your actual need. Based on that, you find a coach. If coaching at this point is not an option for you, but you have access to colleagues that are also business owners, whether it's through an informal scenario, whether it's a more formal setup like the Cape Chambers or Business Network International or any one of the other networking organizations. I'm also thinking of the alternative board. That's also something that you can go and look at. One of the things that you can do is to get together business owners that you're friends with, let's say maybe 5 to 6 of them, that needs to be from different industries than you.
Right.
So if you're accounting, don't get 4 accounting guys together. So make an accountant, make it a lawyer, make it a business integration specialist or whatever, and have a standing meeting once a month or once every 2 weeks where you get together and you give that meeting a formal structure.
Right.
Okay. So what you do is each one gets 5 minutes. Hi guys, my challenge for today or for this month is X.
Boom, on the table. Okay.
Boom, put it on the table, open it as honestly as you can.
Right.
And then the people go around and they brainstorm with you and they look for solutions with you. Right. Okay. So each one gets a chance to do that, and you gain a lot of learning from that by doing that. Right. So what it does is it forces you to think bigger. You are being challenged. It helps you to think of the problem from different angles that you wouldn't, because it's different industries. Yeah. What it does is it breaks the isolation, because one thing that as entrepreneurs, as you know yourself, we all struggle with is being alone or feeling you are hammering at these problems or building this business on your own. Yes. That's why we fall into the lone wolf trap. Yeah. So when you get together as a group like that, that's where you break the isolation. Okay. So that's the one setup. The other setup is maybe joining a more formal scenario like Cape Chambers or Business Network International, where they have trainings and support and mentors and things like that. Right. And then, like I've said, the last one is if you want that more one-to-one approach and you can afford it, engage a good coach for your specific need. Right. Okay, cool. So, I mean, in terms of your business, how do you sell your coaching and your offering? Is it all word of mouth? I think The honest answer is I've been very lucky when I came to Cape Town that I could immediately slot into the different kind of networks here in the northern suburbs.
Okay.
Via family, via friends, via the church that I attend,
Right.
via. Okay, so, and you know, the northern suburbs is very much like Afrikaans, and we like boere, saki and all those kind of stuff. So if you attend a couple of Afrikaans braais, then you're well away. I mean, then you're
Okay,
sorted.
you're on
So no, but I think I was very lucky in that I started building networks
Right.
that way. Okay.
Mm.
And I think what added to that was because I'm doing good work and really get good results, or if it's something that does not fall within my scope of practice, I make sure that I do a very good referral
Right.
to a practitioner, whether it's a clinical psychologist, psychiatrist, or another coach. Because of those three things, word of mouth started to happen.
Right.
So I have a lot of word of mouth that's happening. And there's a bunch of clients that comes to me that is, well, I heard from you from so and so and so.
Right.
And so is a client that I saw 6 years ago.
Amazing.
So that third tier referrals is happening via word of mouth. So that's the one marketing channel that I'm currently using for that.
Right. Okay.
The other marketing channel is website with good SEOing. So I have a company that specializes in doing that for me. So
Right.
I've outsourced that to a specialist. I don't try and do it myself.
Good.
Now what my skill sets are. So I mean, I can't tell other people how to run their businesses, or not tell them, but coach them if I don't practice what I preach.
Right.
So I have that. So I have those, they are doing that for me. So good website, good SEO. LinkedIn, I use LinkedIn a lot.
Yes.
Get a lot of clients via LinkedIn.
Right.
Especially that works well for my industry.
Yes.
So if somebody's listening to this and they go like, well, maybe I must go on LinkedIn as well, first make sure if that's the right channel for you. Because there's a lot of people that LinkedIn is, why I'm saying that is LinkedIn at the moment is very much a buzz thing that's happening.
Yeah.
And
but
before you make the investment.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, sorry, I interrupted you, but I was saying that it's amazing because LinkedIn has been around for ages and ages and ages. To me, it's like an old tool, but it keeps reviving itself somehow. And yeah, people keep on climbing on, you know. So it's, yeah, they're obviously doing something right.
It's like that weird bonsai tree or cactus plant that refuses to die. Exactly, and they come up with new iterations that in some way it works.
I know. They've even stolen stories from like Instagram and Facebook, and I was just like, who puts up a LinkedIn story? Really? Does that even work? It works. Really?
Apparently it does.
Oh my goodness. Okay. No, I'm starting to feel old.
So to answer you, so the LinkedIn I also do, and there's a reason why I shave my head and so that my hair is not showing anymore. I don't show my age, so I don't feel old. At least you still have hair color.
I know, dye is an important feature.
So Facebook I use also a lot. That works well, and I do a lot of masterminds or practical workshops.
Okay.
Where it's during COVID, it was online. Now it's back into in-person groups. And usually I don't do it on my own. I invite another coach that works with me. And then we also, during the workshop or mastermind, we also have somebody in the audience that's a business owner themselves, or that's maybe connected with something like the Argus or the Ironman or something like that in an organizational format and or role. And then they also take part. So we try and do it very practical, small groups, that it's interactive, and it's all about learning, pure learning. There's no upsells that happens during the presentation. People just come, and afterwards they go like, well, I would like to come and get some coaching from you.
Right.
So I found with that, if you give good information and it's the right kind of audience, you don't need to go into that. Yes, our last 20 minutes of the webinar that we're going to spend trying to force you to upsell and buy X amount products.
Or when they start,
people find value.
Oh, it's the worst. Hate it. Yeah.
So if people find value, inevitably they're going to come to you and say, listen, what's your coaching program? What's the packages? How much does it cost? Let's do this. And I'm not against it if you do that kind of upselling in a webinar also. It's just the kind of clientele that I work with are very like, we're tired of this and want something else and more fresh. So, and it's practical.
Yeah.
So those are sort of the marketing channels that I'm using at the moment. And I'm busy exploring YouTube.
Yes.
Not TikTok. I'm not creative enough for TikTok. Or maybe you can teach me some stuff.
No,
your
daughter, I'll have to ask my kids. But I think your target market may not be TikTok. I feel like they might be.
I had that feeling.
You said that 35 to 45 thing, so I feel like that just, doesn't work for TikTok. But in terms of anything that you've done over the years that you could class as a failure or a learning. I know a lot of people don't like to class learnings as failures, but any kind of hiccups that you had along the road that have taught you a really good lesson and that you have then changed how you do things going forward. Anything that comes to mind?
There's a million things that I did wrong. I think, and I mean, there's a hit list on iTunes of all the things that I've done wrong. You can download the whole album about that. So if I have to browse through it, I think the big thing is, and for me, why I do the kind of work that I do is, as a coach, you have to be authentic and honest. There's too many coaches, and I'm not bashing now my colleagues. I love my colleagues. There's brilliant coaches outside. But I think there are too many coaches that have such a big professional image that people sometimes struggle to connect with us. So that's why I'm always very upfront with, here is the 2,000 mistakes that I made. Okay, so that's my caveat. So I am this coach. I think I'm good. I hope I'm good. But I've learned also from hard practical experience. Okay. So the couple of mistakes that I've made are the following. And this is lessons I think I try very hard to transfer into conversations with my clients.
Right.
Number one, when I moved from Pretoria to Cape Town. So the idea is transition. When you transition in your business from one space to another space or one country to another country, doesn't matter what the transition is. Yes, it's good to be positive. It's good to be inspirational. It is brilliant to take a risk. And it's very exciting and adventurous to take the risk and not to be a sheep that wants to slave away for somebody else's dream. Right. I agree with that totally. But you have to go and do the planning and the numbers. I could have been much further, much faster if I actually sat and said, okay, it's now 2 years. I want to get out of casualties by end of 2012. I have 2 years to really think about this. What do I want to do? Who's the team that I need? What's the numbers? Especially if you're on corporate and you decide you want to migrate over to your own business. You really need to go and sit and say, I need to earn X amount. And I need to grow and build my business until I have that X amount before I say, okay, boom, we're done. Okay. I didn't do that well enough. So I think that was one of my biggest mistakes.
Right.
Other mistake is, so now I'm here and I'm starting to learn and I'm growing and I'm getting this thing right. And I'm moving up from brown bread to white bread to shea butter and fancy rye breads, artisanal breads from places. But I am trying to do this all on my own. In the end, that all that happens is you become a very well self-employed slave to your business. Team. Business is a team sport. And I can't say I coined that quote. That comes from Robert Kiyosaki. But business is a team sport. So the mistake that I made was I didn't build my business from the get-go, from the beginning, with a team in mind. I didn't look at it as, here's a chessboard. Who's the first piece on the chessboard that I need to get on there and where I'm going to put it? I built it as, I am the pawn and I'm running around on the chessboard. I was thinking I was the king, but actually I was the pawn and I'm running around on the chessboard.
Absolutely.
So it sounds like a Rudolph, small nuance, really. That small nuance in the long run makes a huge difference.
Okay. Okay.
It's like the Titanic going down to the iceberg. If it was just a couple of degrees more like this, then we would not have hit the iceberg.
Wow.
In the long run. So that's my second big mistake. My third biggest mistake was to say, okay, so I'm the only one that knows the best how to market my business because I'm the expert at my business. Nobody knows as well as I how do dynamic coaching works. Nobody knows how to do performance as good as I. So I'm the only person that can speak marketing lingo for this business the best. And the honest truth is, unless you have a good marketing background like you, and you have lots of experience in it, you know sweet blue nothing about marketing.
Can I get you to tell us some of my clients that? I think I'm gonna do a little clip out of this and go, you need to listen to this over here because I know you think you know what you're doing, but you don't. Yay, thanks. You make me feel better.
So that's why at the moment I have a sales coach called Brian De Beer from Brian De Beer Sales Academy.
Right.
And once a month we sit and we check in and we have assignments and he takes you by the chest like this. And if you're not performing, then it's like, okay. Right. So that's why I have somebody like that teaches me, that trains me. And then at some point, I will also have to, as my business is growing at the moment, I will have to get a sales department now and stop trying doing sales and marketing on my own. Although I have good teachers now outside of me that's teaching me how to, at some point, I also need to say, practice what you preach, Rudolph, in brackets, get a team for that. So that's why Business Online, for example, they're doing my SEOing, they are doing my Facebooking for me, all those kind of things. So I leave it to them, they do it. But somewhere along the line, I will have to get a LinkedIn guy. I will have to get a sales department doing that and have a much stronger creative department instead of somebody that's just outside of me, but somebody that I employ actually. Right. So I think marketing, sales. If you can have the most brilliant business idea, if you can't market, if you can't sell, you're screwed.
Totally.
Pardon now my French on your podcast. You can
Oh,
edit
please.
that out. We can do it over again. But if you can't market, if you can't sell, it's game over.
Here you go, Rudolph. I'll tell you what you wanted to say. If you can't market, you're fucked.
Are we allowed to say that? Okay. If you can't market, you're fucked. So in the hospital, we had this saying, FUBAR. It stands for fucked up beyond all recognition. And it's not being disrespectful to patients or so. It's just sometimes as a counselor or therapist or medical doctor, that's just sometimes how you feel in terms of all the burnout that you experience.
Yeah.
And but that's sometimes when clients come to me, they have this brilliant business idea and they are running a business that's really not doing bad. I mean, they have the networks and they are getting referrals and the Facebook are sort of working for them. It's not like as if they're totally floundering.
No.
But they have this thing of, I want to have full financial independence. I want to really have the time freedom and the lifestyle and the connection with my family, connection with my husband or my wife. And that part of their life, because they are not doing the things that they should be doing, is absolutely FUBAR. And the systems or the non-existence of systems are also creating that.
Right.
So, and why I'm moving now into systems, and that's a fifth mistake that I made, or fourth. I don't know where we are in the sequencing of all the mistakes I made now.
You're four.
We'll stick
just four.
Okay, we'll end the playlist at 5. But I think the big fourth thing is systemizing everything.
Okay. Like, can you give us an example?
So, whether it is your client journey, whether it is marketing or sales, whether it's your finances, whether it is how you manage your clients, you need to make sure that you have a good workflow that is mapped out visually of each and every step.
Okay.
Number one. Number two, you need to have good productivity management systems in place or tools in place. Some people use Asana, some people use Trello. I like to use Nozbe. Nozbe works absolutely amazing for me. It's simple, it's easy, it's not so technical. And I don't mind if something is technical, but it needs to be easy, quick and fast. And my team needs to be able to pick it up very quickly. And sometimes not, unless it's an IT company, but I found that a lot of teams from different companies, not everybody is as technical orientated. So find something like Todoist or Omni or Nozbe that I'm using. It's very easy. And you basically manage your business and your life in one overview that you can see the workflow. You manage it through that.
Sure. I have huge resistance towards systems and workflow stuff. Huge. Like just, I had an agency I worked for that used Trello. I can't stand it. I like it. Actually, it makes my skin crawl when I think about Trello. It's so funny, but it's totally, there must be something in it. There's something that it like catches me in the throat, and definitely some process work on Mel's side. Got it. But that process stuff just drives me wild. But okay, my failing. That'll be my failing. Let me know.
Listen, I can definitely relate with you, eh? I mean, yes, I'm a planner and I'm an organizer and I like all this stuff, mate.
I'm organized.
But at heart, doing coaching and working with people is a very creative process. So I also have this part of me that's independent and going like on a monkey mind journey, and you just like a Jack Russell, different balls.
All over.
So I definitely understand or can relate to when you say, my neck is just going like this. or like a Rottweiler that's seeing a cat and all their hairs is standing up like this. I can definitely relate to that because it made me feel, when my coach said, Rudolph, you need to get a system in place, it made me feel claustrophobic.
Yes.
I felt claustrophobic. I felt like discipline, and I hate discipline.
Don't like to get told what to do.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
And the system is telling me what to do. But I had to realize and say, what is it that you want, Rudolph? I want time freedom. That's actually the first reason why you should start a business, except for passion and dream and all those things, is time freedom.
Yeah.
And then money.
Yes.
So if I want time freedom, I need to work smarter. I need to be clever. I need to make sure, where am I bleeding time? Find out where it is and how do I manage that? And I need to be simplified the way that I manage it. Can't be complex. Can't be all over the place.
No.
And also what I've realized, and this also comes from my sales coach, I wish I can take all the glory and credit for all this stuff, but it's other people. Where Brian just went listen in one of his webinars, training webinars with us as a group. 20% of the stuff that you focus on, give 80% of the output. If you do not manage your time effectively with a well-designed, simple, easy system, you're not going to get to the 20%. You're not going to get as fast as possible to the financial rewards, lifestyle, freedom, security that you want. So you can either slog this out for another 10 years, or you can slog it out for another 2 years.
Right.
Just because you are so effective as managing your systems and your time, which will allow you to focus on the very important stuff, that's going to make your business do this daily.
Okay.
So the curve can be this, or the curve can be this.
Yes. Okay.
So yeah, so that's the lesson I had to learn. And listen, I sometimes go on Nosby and then I have this inward cringe. And it feels like nails against the board in the classroom.
Yes.
Yes. But then I take a breath and it's like, okay, Rudolph, at the end of next year, you want to be financially here. You want to have the following team members in your business in place. You want to. Take your ego down a notch. Sit, do it. And I'm currently seeing the results in my business.
Okay, cool. So you can kind of stand by that kind of like almost business hack in a way, if you want to put it that way. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think, so Brian Walsh, also a brilliant coach. He, in a lot of his stuff, he always says, if you work in a business, usually there are 3 places where there's chaos: time, people, money. So if you create order and structure in time, people, money, your business responds.
Right.
Wish I can take the glory for that one as well, but Brian Walsh said that.
One.
So yeah, there's all these brilliant guys. Wish I could coin it, but yeah. So
it's okay. We'll just copy. I'm a big fan of that. Just like use the good stuff, and why not? Someone else has figured it out. Go then. So
exactly.
Yeah. And then, did you have one more? One more.
I think let's rather leave it at that because the hit list can go on and on and on.
It's a long playlist. It's a playlist of life. So yeah, okay, cool. Well, thank you, Rudolph. Just last quick question. What do you love most about what you do?
What I love most is whether I'm working with people in a group or whether it is in a one-on-one scenario. There's always that moment where you see a shift happens. the client really understands what is happening here in the here now. What's the dynamics that's happening? They unlock that for themselves. Focus, they unlock it for themselves.
On their own self.
And the moment when that happens, there's this shift that you literally can see happening inside of themselves. That gives me a big adrenaline rush. And then it's like 2 or 3 weeks later or a week later, they come for their follow-up conversation and they tell you excitedly, I've implemented this and I've implemented that, and people are responding this way and my business is responding this way. And or if it's couples that I'm working with, like, yes, we are actually talking for the first time in months. And I know they did it themselves. That's where the big rush comes from. Coaching is not about helping people, it's about enabling people.
Big difference.
They do the work themselves. If people walk out of a session and they go like, oh, Rudolph is so brilliant, and then I know I didn't do my work.
Okay.
If they walk out of the conversation and they go like, I've learned this, I've implemented this, that part in the conversation was a light bulb moment that changed things totally for me. And they talk about the process and they talk about the learning. Then I get an adrenaline rush because then I know I did my job well.
Brilliant. Cool. Yeah, that's definitely something to enjoy, I must say. Thank you so much, Rudolph. I'm sad to say that, time's up, but how can people get hold of you?
So people can get hold of me via my website, or they can call me directly. So my number is on the website. They can go on my LinkedIn profile. They can go on Facebook. So they can just basically search for Rudolph van Schoor or for Coaching Cape Town. That's basically where they will find me.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been such a treat.
Thank you so much for having me over. I really enjoyed this conversation with you.
Thank you for listening to the I Work For Me podcast. I hope you enjoyed this interview and that you feel inspired to take your idea and business to the next level, not only for yourself, but for fellow South Africans too. Please listen in weekly for interviews with more interviews with South Africa's most inspiring people, and connect with me on Facebook or Instagram at Melina Lewis Author, or on YouTube at Melina Lewis, or if you don't mind, consider supporting the show for a few rand a month by finding me on Patreon at Melina Lewis. Have a great week and namaste.